Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So today I'm going to talk about inside a Jordanian refugee camp that runs on blockchain. So I'm Thibaut. I'm working at Parity Technologies, and I will talk about a project that we did together with the World Food Programme from the United Nations. So I will talk a lot about the United Nations World Food Programme, WFP. Unfortunately, Human Haddad, who's the head of emerging technologies, couldn't be here today, but I'll try to just speak about it as good as I can from my point of view. So the WFP is the world's largest humanitarian organization in the world, providing aid and food basically to more than 80 million people around 80 countries. Actually, I just looked at the Wikipedia page, it's more than 90 million people now. So it was talked about before a bit. What these kind of organizations do is provide food, right? So they can provide food in kind, such as corn or rice. But one thing that people or these organizations start doing a lot is actually provide cash. And this has many advantages. One of them is basically not telling people what they should eat. You can just give them cash and, well, they will buy food themselves, right? So it improves dignity. It improves also things like when you inject cash in such, for instance, in the country that where the refugees arrive, it just helps the local markets, and you basically don't bring food from elsewhere, and it just makes the local market grow, and this is pretty good. So yeah, cash transfers is something that has been growing a lot in the past years. We went from, in 2009, I think the World Food Programme was talking about millions, and now we're talking about 1.76 billions of US dollars distributed in 2018. So this kind of cash transfer represent now, this year, 35% of the World Food Programme aid. So this is huge. So we're talking here about a refugee camp. It's a pilot that was started in 2017, a refugee camp in Jordan for Syrian refugees. You can imagine this as a huge camp with more than 45 organizations working on site. And this is huge, right? And there's a huge lack of coordinations among these organizations. There are some organizations that provide food, some organizations that provide health, some organizations that provide education. So UNICEF for education, health for WHO, for instance. And there's a big, so those organizations are not talking to each other. They have siloed network, they have siloed, softwares, etc. And so there's a problem because many of these organizations actually provide cash, right, to these refugees. Problem is the refugees are just walking around with several bank cards because this organization, let's say WHO, will work with one bank and will just, transfer some money to a bank and ask the refugees to register to this bank. And the WFP will work with another bank. And so people will have, it will be just not unified, right? And that's a problem. There's another problem is account management. So these people that basically came into this camp mostly have no ID or passport, etc. So it's kind of hard to, have an identification across all these organizations. Of course, when we talk about banks, etc., we're talking about having some fees and having some, when you want to open a bank account for someone, it takes a couple weeks. It was talked about before, so yeah, just gonna go quickly on that. And the high costs. So we talk about bank fees here, and everybody wants to run a business, right? So they are taking fees, and this has a non-negligible cost. So one of the solutions that came up with is blockchain, right? Cool. That's, you all know that it solves tons of problems, but I'm going to talk about the problems it has solved right now already since 2 years in this program. So just for you to know, this program started as a 10,000 people program, and then it was made brought to more than 100,000 persons in this camp. So the blockchain brings a neutral space. You know, when you have like many different organizations that have different systems, etc., what you want to have is you want to have a common system, but you don't want to come with your standards and say, look, this is how it should go, and if you want to connect with me, I'm the biggest organization, you have to just use my standards. So blockchain can be a way to, well, you know, to be a common ground, to be a hub where everybody runs a node and where you can just share the information that you have. It gives you full control over account management, so because you're basically forgetting about the banks, you can be extremely quick. We're talking about a couple of hours mostly, right, instead of weeks. So as I heard, it happens quite often that you get a call in the middle of the night and you know that 3,000 refugees will come across the border tonight. And basically by the morning, if you create some identities and quickly on the blockchain without having to bother to do this with the banks, you can let them shop by the morning when they arrive. So this is incredibly effective. Of course, you lower the cost because you don't have to pay all those fees, the bank fees. And yeah, improve performance and reliabilities. You don't have to deal with third-party banks in some part of the world that are not like as reliable as you could expect. So the way we do this, or the way the World Food Program has done, is by iris scanning. So this is the photo that you see. So of course, we have to be very careful with data management, right? We were talking about it. There's no personal data on the blockchain, right? So this iris is one part of the key, and another organization called the UNHCR is managing the hashing and only hash or put on the blockchain. So the results of this pilot is that well, more than 100,000 people have been using iris scanning for shopping every day in the middle of the desert. I mean, this is crazy. This is maybe one of the most high-tech shopping experience you could have, right? And this is for refugees. So more than 67 million has been transferred through 4 million transactions. Yeah, you can read the rest. I mean, these are incredible numbers. And of course, talking again about the fees, like this is a great saving, and that you don't have to give to some banks, you can just reinvest them. So everything has been built on Parity Ethereum. For this implementation, we use a proof of authority consensus. So this is a private network. It's not on Ethereum for many reasons. One of the biggest reasons is because we're not there yet with, I don't know, zero knowledge, for instance, or with all the scalability problems that we could have on Ethereum. So the World Food Program and the United Nations Women, which is another organization from the UN, are running the nodes, and we hope that many more organizations will help to run nodes just to cross-check things. Yeah, it's a private network, as I said. We hope that people will just eventually join and try to join forces here. So based on this was in 2017, 2018 I gave the numbers, and based on this, because it's a huge success, the World Food Program will expand this now in Bangladesh for the Rohingya refugees. And we're very careful with the identity, but we want to basically go to another level and not only bring cash, but also manage identities and try to help these organizations cooperate, these organizations in the refugee camps, because everybody wants to help the refugees, but the thing is, if we can just make it easier for them to get this help and share the information we have, that would be great. Right. I made it quick actually because we had the same topic before. We have 1 minute left. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer. Yes, please.
No, just about the iris scanner.
Yeah.
Is that the only way of authorizing transactions, or is the system flexible enough to accept other data?
All right. So that's a very good question that I'm maybe not the best person to answer. So today, people are identified with their iris, and there's a link. So there is a link between a person and their iris, of course, managed by the UN HCR. So that's another organization, right? It's not the World Food Program, and the World Food Program doesn't have this link. Of course, because it's Ethereum, because like it's managed on smart contracts that are actually extendable, we can build things to, I don't know, like add some people with their own private key, for instance, so they don't have to scan an iris, but they can just scan a transaction, sign it themselves, and just push it to the blockchain. Why not? I'm pretty sure that's not a problem. All right, thank you so much for your time.